Hey guys, welcome back into the Starcastic Mark Studios for the third episode of Fan Stories. We are very excited for who we have in today's episode. She's got a very interesting story, and then when I was talking about this series of episodes with Chris and James, she was actually one of the first ones that I thought about because of what happened several months ago. I don't even remember when it happened, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Julie. She's sitting here right to my right if you're watching on YouTube. Hey, Julie, how you doing today? And thanks for agreeing to do this.
Hi, it's really good to be on here. I'm really excited.
So before we get into any hockey-related stuff, I always have to ask people because, I'm kind of weird like that, I'm a band director and, there's things outside of hockey that some people don't really know about me. Can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and, what you do, why, I don't know, whatever you got.
Yeah, so I actually work with I'm a marketer, so I work for a marketing company. It's a work from home, so I get to hang out with my dogs and all my clients get to see my stars set up. So I get to bring that into every meeting, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I've been there for about 4 months and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, and you recently switched jobs, right? If I understand that correctly?
Yeah, and it's actually funny how it worked out. Hockey was the main reason why I got this job. It was all because of hockey. So
Really?
yeah.
That's it. How does that manage out?
So I started playing hockey about a year ago. I joined a team in October. None of us knew each other except for another guy and I knew each other, and we kind of helped start the team. And we all just kind of are best buds now. And they knew at the time that I was looking for a new job because my last one wasn't great. So they hooked me up with some freelance work, and that freelance work led to a permanent position. So it's really changed my life actually. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing stories like that because I love when people get a situation where they're kind of like they're a lot better off than they were a year ago or so. And I mean that was the same way with me when I know West Texas is the middle of nowhere and stuff like that, but where I was before here was not as good as the situation I am in now. So I love that that's happened to you. I'm very happy for you. So,
thank you.
Let me ask you about you playing hockey, actually, because
Yeah.
I mean it's been a long time. I miss it so much. I used to love it when I was little. I played until I was 13. But how did you get into playing hockey first off?
So, funny story. I've maybe stepped foot on ice twice before I was 24.
Wow.
And the Stars put out a free get started adult rookies, and it's 4 weeks for free. They give you all the gear. The only thing you have to bring is a stick, and if you want to buy skates, otherwise you can just rent them. And then I saw it. I thought long and hard about it because I'm a girl, so that's not really a thing that a lot of women around, especially in the South, they don't really play hockey. So I thought long and hard about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. And I signed up. I started to play those 4 weeks, and after the 4 weeks, I was like, I'm hooked. And I got all the gear. I bought new sticks, new skates, new everything, and worked really hard to skate so that I could join the team. And in October, we created that team, and I'm still on it. It's the Puppers in Richardson, if anyone wants to go see a game. That's how it started. It was a really one-off ad that I saw on Twitter about adult rookie classes, and it just has changed my life since then.
Well, good. And with women down in the South playing hockey, just whatever. I think it's awesome that you're doing it because I think there's not enough women in hockey, if you ask me. I'd love to see more. So, and maybe we could even get to the point to where we actually have a women's league down in Dallas. So
my kind of ignorance about the world of hockey and playing hockey in Dallas, I never knew how big it actually was. And there are multiple women leagues, and I'm actually on multiple teams. I'm on a women's league team, and I'm on all men's team. I mean, it's technically co-ed because I'm the only girl on the team, but it's all men that play, and they are some of the coolest guys you will ever meet. And it's really awesome. It's my expectations were a little bit lower, and they've been exceeded throughout the whole process.
Now let me ask you a question. Do they take it easy on you?
Oh no!
Of course not.
No. So it's funny you say that. I'm actually my nickname on the team is the Goon because I go out and like.
Oh, you're the Steve Ott. Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny how it like the roles have almost reversed a little bit, and everyone on the ice on the opposite team, you just hear Goon as soon as I walk out or step on the ice, and it's actually really fun. It's it's really hilarious to listen to.
So you're the Patrick Maroon, the Antoine Roussel. That's awesome. I love that. That's so cool. So. Yeah. So you haven't been playing for a full year though. So what position do you like playing, or do you just kind of drift around?
Yeah, I actually am a left winger. So
left winger.
That's the position. I've played every position. Defense is my least favorite. I backwards, and I am not good at that. So I just kind of stuck with left winger because I'm left-handed, and it just felt more right on that side for me for whatever reason, and it just worked out. Yeah.
Shout out to the Peppers down in Richardson. That's legit. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great team. We do like cookouts after games, and we've kind of created a culture there. It was there before, but we kind of helped, get it bigger.
Solidify it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. Now we've got a whole, like, every Friday night we'll go out, drink beers, and eat some hot dogs on the grill and play some hockey. It's great.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. If there's one thing I ever want to do when I get back to Dallas is join a hockey league. And it's been so long. I haven't played since I was 13. So, and I have a story, but that's it. It's not. This is not about me. This is about you. So I'll tell that story another day, maybe on a different episode. But so now that we got to your playing career in hockey, so how did it all start though? Because obviously, from what I understand, your hockey experience started way before you're actually playing. So can you tell me a little bit about like how you got into hockey and maybe why you like hockey so much?
Yeah. So my very first Stars game was March of 2018. I still actually have the physical ticket. That was the game that really I just fell super hard in love with it. I liked it before, I had seen hockey games before. In high school, I used to take pictures for the yearbook for the hockey teams, and I always enjoyed it. But seeing the Stars, that was it, that moment. But my family is all from New York, and they're big hockey people. And my dad, he was a lifelong Rangers fan, and he had, Rangers season tickets, and he loved, the hockey world. And I think it might have rubbed off on me a little bit.
That's awesome, yeah. So there was for Matt Day, there was like a specific moment like you were talking about. His was actually the Miracle on Ice in 1980. So really? that was cool. That was cool to hear. So what was it about that specific game? Do you remember like who it was against and like, maybe who scored a goal or anything like that? Or it's probably been a long time since then.
Yeah, it's been a while since then. A lot of things have happened, but I want to say it was the Avalanche that we were playing. I can't remember the specific date or the specific team, but I think it was the Avalanche. And there really wasn't just one thing that I was like, oh my God, this is it. It was like the whole experience being in that arena we were like, 10 rows from the ice. And it was like just magical. And it's just the screaming, the chants, everything just sold me 100%. So I don't remember who scored or who played. Yeah, I just remember I loved the atmosphere.
That's legit. That's awesome. But let me ask you about this too. Do you have like a specific moment or a specific game, or maybe where you were? Like, do you have like a favorite Dallas Stars moment from like the past 4 years?
Yeah, so I have a couple actually.
Go for it.
I have like a list.
No, go for it. Seriously.
My absolute top favorite was Radulov scoring the go-ahead goal in the 2020 Winter Classic against the Predators. Even to this day, like I felt I don't know if you've ever been to the Cotton Bowl, but they put out like extensions and they're bleachers, so it's all metal extensions. And we were 2 rows from the back, probably the worst seats ever, but they were amazing because as soon as Radulov scored, the entire thing just rattled and it was so loud. My ears were ringing and I couldn't hear the Stars chant. I couldn't hear the fireworks that went off. All I just saw was the puck going in the net and just chaos. And that was probably the most magical part of being a Stars fan. And I watch it on repeat all the time. Like, I'll go back and just watch that one goal because it was such an amazing moment. And it just I was so elated in that moment.
I'm right there with you. We were there too. Me and like my whole family were, and my wife even came, and she was pregnant at the time too, and just that whole Winter Classic. But I agree with you 100% because at the end of the first period, with Perry getting kicked out of the game because of the hit, and we were down I think we were down 2-0 or 2-1 at that point, something like that. And I was just like, oh no, we're gonna lose the biggest game in Dallas Stars history. Please don't do this. And then that power play goal, yeah. I mean, that is the absolute loudest that I've ever heard any Dallas Stars crowd ever, and it was absolutely fantastic. So I'm right there with you. But you mentioned some other moments. Do you have any other moments that you can think of?
Yeah. So there was a game. There's the Carolina game against Carolina. I can't remember the year it was in, but it was a hat giveaway night. And we all, like me and my cousin went, and we sat in a place that had, one of the suites had like unlimited beer. So we sat and just drank a bunch of beer, and we had our hats. And that was the night that Jamie Benn decided to score a hat trick. So the place, again, just went kind of wild. And we all had hats, so it was full of hats because everyone had just gotten one, so they could throw it, and it was free. So they weren't wasting, or they weren't throwing away their money. Like some people don't like to throw their hats because of that. But yeah, that was a good one. And I think that's probably number 3 on the list. That was a fun game. But number 2 is probably the game against the Wild. It was October 29th of 2019, and I think it was 2019. It was against the Wild, and we had gone down 3-0, and the third goal that went in the net, like Minnesota scored the third goal, and the crowd got up and just left. Like most of the crowd just got up and left. And I was determined to have a really good time because it was the Halloween game, so everyone was dressed up. I was dressed up as a Dalmatian. My friend was Cruella DeVille, and I was like, no, I don't care. We're just going to have a good time. It was, towards the middle of the second period when they went down 3-0 and all these people left. And then Radulov scored, and at the end of the second period, and then he kept scoring, and then he ended up getting a hat trick that game. And I think the final score was 6-3, if I'm not wrong on that. It was funny because it was kind of empty because people had left, but it was so loud because they had come back and won that game. And I just kept thinking, like, oh man, if I had left that game, I would have been so mad. I would miss that really awesome game.
Well, no, and I remember that game actually. It's funny that you remember that because that game was arguably the turning point of that season because the way they started, the Dallas Stars started was not good, and that was Joe Pavelski's first year. So we expected a little too much from him. With a brand new team, his first new team ever, other than the Sharks, and I think they started I think they won one game in the first 8 or 9 or something like that.
7-1, I think, was the record. Or I guess they lost 7, they won 1.
Mm-hmm. And then they, bad. Yeah, it was real bad. And that completely turned the season around for the Stars. And I mean, that led to the bubble playoffs and the great memories we have out of that. So that's funny that you said that because I was just like, I swear I know that game, and I do because that game was so much fun. I remember watching it on TV and being like all depressed, and I even remember what you were saying. I was like, it's 3-0. It's maybe halfway through the second period. I'm complaining that all these Stars fans are leaving, and that was actually before we even started this podcast. So that's awesome. That's one of your favorite memories.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you have is it like a group of players that you like that are your favorite, or do you have like one specific player that you're like completely attached to? Because some people are like that. So like with me, for the longest time it was Jamie Benn, and I'm still attached to him, but Miro Heiskanen is kind of starting to take that over a little bit. So do you have anything like that?
Well, I will say my first jersey was a Sagan jersey, so he always has like a special place in my heart. He's the one I fell in love with the most, and I guess that's a very cliche answer because most girls probably say that's how they got into hockey, but that's not why I got into hockey. That's just one of the reasons. But yeah, Sagan was the first jersey I'd gotten. Now Otter is really, taken. Like, I'm just really loving him. He's a great player, and he's going to be like the Stars' main guy for years to come. And that I see so much future in him, and he really reminds me of Ben Bishop, and I loved Bishop. So seeing like him kind of play like Bishop, and he has the best qualities of him, and he's gonna go really far. So I'm excited to see where he goes.
So, I mean, so we're just about to start the Stanley Cup final, right? So for those of you that are listening way past this is June 12th, 2022. So there may be somebody that listens to this way, way, way later. But do you see him being like a Andrei Vasilevsky type of goaltender? Maybe not as much, but maybe to the same caliber, maybe?
Possibly. I was always nervous with them having Otter be the first goalie, because I saw what happened to Carter Hart, and Carter Hart kind of got thrown into the Wolves, and they kind of just broke him. And I didn't want that to happen to Otter, so I was like, no, I don't care if we, lose a season or don't make it to playoffs. I want him to take his time and get to that point where he knows he can do this consistently, and he's not going to just break. And I think the last game, Game 7 against Calgary, that like all the the comments that I had said about not making him first just got thrown out the window. I was like, nope, this is our guy. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be at that level with Vasilevsky, because he's a really good goalie.
It's Vasi, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not sure how old he is, but I know Otter's young, so he has so much potential to get there. And with the Stars coaching staff, their goalie coaching staff, the mentorship from Bishop, I have no doubt that he's going to go really far, and he could very potentially take that spot.
Sorry, I'm looking at Vasilevsky's age. He's 27, so he's only 4 years older than Otter. So he's not that much older.
Yeah,
but
4 years in hockey years is much different than 4 years in regular years.
Yes, agreed, 100%. So, well, I guess this is a good segue to go ahead and ask you about this too. But, so, Dallas Stars fans are kind of more optimistic than depressed, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I've talked to both Matt Day and also Mullet Mike. Mullet Mike is full optimistic. He's full on board. Matt Day was also optimistic a little bit, but he had some pessimism for good reason. But how are you feeling about the Dallas Stars' chances next season? Do you think we should be excited about it, optimistic about it, or do you maybe like cautiously optimistic, or are you just like totally, oh, we're screwed, we should be depressed? What do you think?
Well, as a typical Stars fan, that varies day by day.
What does it?
And then the next day I'm like, oh, we're going to win the cup. So I would say probably cautiously optimistic. I like our chances. I like our prospects that are coming up. And I like our team. And I think with a few adjustments, we could be a really strong team. And especially with a new coach that can really bring out that, the potential of, the scoring, like the offense needs to be fixed, all that. And like, if we can get the really good defense that we have been able to do with some better offense, then I think we're in good shape, So I am cautiously optimistic about the next season.
So I'll ask you about head coaches here in a second, because I'm not sure if you're follow up on it, but I think you are, so I'll ask you that. But first I want to ask you about this, because I asked my brothers about this. There's a couple of players who I'm really excited for, to maybe have a better season or, do something, especially offensively. So let me give you 4 players, and I want you to maybe pick, we'll just pick one. No, 2. Pick 2. And you tell me which ones you're the most excited for out of these 4 with like a new head coach, okay? So we have Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Dennis Gurianov, and Miro Heiskanen. So if you had to pick out of those 4 guys, just 2 who you're most excited for this opportunity with a new head coach and stuff, who would you pick out of those 4 guys?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Right? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. I did not give her time to think about this, by the way, for those of you that are listening. I'm just kind of putting her on the spot, so.
There's reasons why I'm excited for all of them to have new coaches, but the top 2, I would say, oh God, that's a hard question. Probably Gurianov is probably the top one for probably a lot of people, mainly because he's been benched so much. So, and there's a lot of mixed feelings on that. And if that's whether he's just not producing or if it's how he's being coached. So I do think him having a new coach, we could see really if it's a coaching issue or if it's just maybe a player, consistency issue. And then the next one, I would say Seguin. I know a lot of people have been talking trash about him, but he has come so far from his injury, and to even think that he's even playing after that type of injury, it's mind-boggling. I know I couldn't do that, and he, I am excited to see how he goes, because he just, every season from that injury, he's just gotten better. And it's just, I should say every game, because it hasn't been that long, but every game I've seen him play, he's gotten better since his injury. And with a new coach, they might be able to utilize him in a better way, I guess.
Yeah, and that injury you're talking about, of course, is a torn labrum, which is apparently some sort of like hip thing, and that just sounds really painful. I don't even know what it is. It just sounds painful.
Yeah, I don't know if you looked up a picture about what it is, but if you look up a picture about a torn labrum, I would be in bed for like 3 years after that. So it's brutal. And hockey players are just a different, breed. They will come back from anything to get that chance to win the cup.
So that's interesting that you picked those 2 players, because I'm obviously, for me, it's Dennis Gurianov, but I'm also excited for Ben, because if there's one thing that we need more out of, it's that guy. And he does it physically, if you ask me, in my opinion. But we gotta have more offense out of him. Seguin kind of did it with goal scoring a little bit. He scored a lot of weird greasy goals that are not really Tyler Seguin goals. So he still contributed, but we got to see more out of Jamie Benn. So,
Yeah.
but that's interesting that you picked Seguin over Jamie Benn. So, and everything you said was I agree with.
Yeah, I'd like to see more beast mode Ben. Like, we haven't seen that in so long, and it's just that when he got on the ice, we would win games because of that, because he just flipped the switch and that game was ours. So yeah, I would love to see more of that.
And it's not like he's old either, right?
No.
He's only 32, maybe 33, or close to 33. Well, he's 32 or 33. So, and it's not like, once you hit 32, you can't score goals anymore. I mean, Joe Pavelski, Patrice Bergeron, Marchand even. I hate that guy. But, they're still really good players. So
Yeah.
I think he can contribute a lot more. But that's just me, though. So let me go ahead and get into a really cool story and the particular reason why I wanted you to come on here, because you have a very interesting story, and I wanted you to be able to tell this. So a while ago, and I don't even remember, I know it was against Columbus. I don't remember which month it was this past year. Do you remember what month it was? Was it November?
It was towards the beginning of the season. I think it was either the end of October or the beginning of November.
Okay, so it was very early on, and there was a whole story that came out about that. So do you want to go ahead and tell the story about that and what you did and everything? Because it's really cool.
Yeah, so last off season, there was a player, the Columbus Blue Jackets' second goalie. He died he got hit with a firework and he died. And he jumped in front of Merzlikins, who is the other goalie. He jumped in front of him to save him and his wife, or at least that's what the story is, and that's what I've read. And that was very hard for the hockey community, and no one wants to see that happen. We love our players no matter who they play for. And in October, or late October or early November, a Dallas Stars fan went to a Columbus Blue Jackets game in Columbus, and they were playing the Stars. And when Elvis was coming off the ice, Merzlikins was coming off the ice, the fan in a Dallas Stars sweater said something really, really awful to Elvis as he was getting off, and it was to the effect of, him being at fault for Kiwi dying. And we've heard the stories of how hard it was for him to get over that, or not get over it, but go the process through grieving that loss. And the stories came out, and we all the Stars fans heard about it. A lot of Columbus fans knew about it. So when we're in a group chat together, and we have a Stars group chat, and we saw that I think Ben posted it in, one of our friends posted it in the group chat and said, this is awful. Like, we need to do something when they come to Dallas. I think they came back to Dallas in February, if I'm not mistaken. And he said, we need to do something to show that we're not that fan. And that one fan who was awful and said those awful things does not at all show what Stars fans are. Like, he is not a Stars fan in our book. So that happened, that he made a post about it on Twitter, and it got some traction, and that was in November when the game had happened. And time went by, people kind of forgot about it. And then when Columbus came back, me and Ben both kind of took charge, trying to get this thing out there, trying to retweet it, making sure people knew about this game and what we wanted to do. And what we wanted to do was bring signs to the game, hand-make signs saying that we loved Kiwi, we fully support Elvis Merzlikins and his grieving process, and the Columbus fan base and all their players, everything. So we wanted to make signs and bring them to the practice when they were practicing before the game, and just put them around the ice, the glass on the ice, to show them, that we are not that fan. And Ben, he doesn't live here. He lives in San Marcos, so he couldn't actually physically be at the game, but he was instrumental in helping spread awareness and trying to get people to bring signs. And what I had did was I made about 15, 20 signs for people to take in case they wanted to, if they didn't bring a sign, they just wanted to show support. And a lot of Stars fans were on the Star sides, but a lot of fans came out and brought signs with saying, we support you, we hope Kiwi flies high. So Kiwi's number is 80. So we just lined the ice, and he came up to me, and he, Merzlikis was on the ice, and he wasn't playing that game, and he almost didn't play at all. He almost didn't even back up. So I was nervous that he would get to see them, but he'd ended up being able to dress out and back up. And he saw the signs, and he went around to almost every single person that had a sign just saying thank you. And I can't remember the player, but there was one player who came up to me on the ice and just hugged the ice where I was standing. And it was really cool to see the reception and see that they knew that happened, but that was not Stars fans. And we want to know that we also were grieving in that loss with them. That was a hockey community loss. That wasn't just a Columbus loss. And it wasn't fair of that one fan to use that against him. And yeah, that's kind of how it started and how, the whole thing went. And it got some traction from the Columbus side, and people, I think the Columbus NHL writer came down and talked to me, and a few other writers or journalists came down and talked to me about it. And then it kind of went a little viral on the Columbus side, and people, saw all of it. And the main message that I wanted them to see was the Stars fan that did that awful thing is not a Stars fan. And we wanted them to know that we're with you, and we're grieving with you. We were there for them, and we are not that fan. We are not that behavior either. So it was just kind of to show that we are a community. This is a hockey community, and yeah, we have rivalries, but off the ice, that's not what we want to portray in our community, is that awful behavior.
Yeah, I remember that whole story, and I think one of the first things I did is I actually went and made a YouTube video. I didn't even do a podcast or anything. I just put this on my podcast YouTube channel, and I think to this day it's still the most watched YouTube video that we have on the Starcastic Remarks channel. So
yeah, I think I remember I watched that video too. Yeah, it's the whole community. A lot of other podcasts too, they came out and were like, this is not okay.
It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I think it was really cool that, we showed. That's the beauty about the hockey community, is if there's that one awful person, we're not going to let him define the community, because it's not us.
And unfortunately, especially in the social media age, as it is with everything, you get those terrible few, unfortunately, whether it be, the misogynistic crowd, or, that one Stars fan or that one Columbus fan or whatever that does something stupid. And what a lot of Stars fans actually don't remember about the Columbus Blue Jackets is that back in 2014, we had that really scary incident with Rich Peverly, where he basically died on the bench. And they were very supportive of, all the Stars players and, Stars fans who were there at the game. And then, when a story like that comes out, you're just kind of like, really? That's not necessary. And I'm 100% with you when you said that fan who, whatever he said, and there's rumors as to what he said, but I'm not going to give any kind of credit to it or whatever. But he's not a real Stars fan. I mean, the real Stars fans are people like you. So I thought that was an awesome thing what you did. And shout out to Ben as well, who was very instrumental in getting that off the ground, and just like a little social media, I guess, movement, mini movement or whatever, to kind of show Kev Lennox, the support that he deserves, and same thing with Elvis. And I'm really glad to hear that that he was very thankful and everything that y'all did for that. So again, thanks for doing that. That's such a cool story. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because you seem like a really down to earth person, and that was just a great thing you did. So thanks for doing that. That was amazing.
Yeah, there's actually a lot. Many people may not know this part, but they did actually end up sending me like a signed puck from Elvis and a handwritten card from the Columbus Blue Jackets CEO that basically said, we appreciated that. And that whole community is amazing. Like that's what I was telling, a friend of mine. I was like, Columbus Blue Jackets might be my second home now, because they are just, the fan base is amazing. The whole community around their players, I love their players, and their front office, they're fantastic. And so that was really cool, and it kind of brought together a lot of people, and I have a lot of new Columbus Blue Jackets fans or friends now from that whole thing, and it's like they're such awesome people. So it's really cool to even just kind of meet people out of that as well. So it was a really awesome just whole around experience, and I'm glad that they know that we don't support that, and we want to be, we're friends, really, even though we may hate each other sometimes on the ice. We're friends.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what I love about the hockey community. There's not a lot of sports that are like that, and unfortunately, and I think that's what makes the hockey community a lot different. And people like you are just what make the hockey community great. So again, thanks for doing that, and thanks for sharing that story with us, because that's exactly what we want to try and get out of this series of episodes. It's just cool stories like that maybe some other people don't really know about. So thanks for sharing that with us. But I think we're just about out of time for here today. But is there I'm just going to give you the floor. Is there anything you kind of want to say about anything? Maybe head coach? Who's the next head coach?
Hopefully it's not
DeBoer. Fingers crossed it's not.
Let's hope not for that guy. Yeah, just stop recycling the same coaches. That would be great.
No coaching carousel. I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's been great. Thank you so much for having me on, and I was glad to be able to share some of my experiences.
And I know you have Twitter. Is there anywhere else that people can follow you other than Twitter?
My main, Stars content is on Twitter. So I think my handle is Julie Broderick 3. I think that's what it is, but it's been like 10 years since I've had that, so I'm not entirely positive. But yeah, that's my main, where I post Stars content and hockey content.
Well, yeah, and everybody go check her out, because she's awesome. She's so much fun especially in the grape chat. You're awesome, Julie. You really just are. So,
thank you.
Again, thanks for doing this, and we really appreciate you coming out and talking a little bit of Stars hockey and a little bit of your fan interactions with the greatest sports organization in Dallas. Not the Cowboys, the Stars.
Thank you.
Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us here today. I hope you guys will go and follow Julie on Twitter. And like you said, she thinks her Twitter handle is @JulieBroderick3, but I'll double check that, and I'll put that in the description on YouTube, and also in the show notes below if you want to go check that out and follow her. And we also want to thank real quick for DraftKings for being the sponsor for our podcast. They allow us to do cool things like this. Thank you, DraftKings, for doing this. Go and use that promo code THPN. Along with Julie, my name is Ryan. We will catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, evening, whenever you're listening. See you guys later.